PDs, so prior sort of sessions with the series. So if all of these things seem like new and overwhelming to you, we will be sending out resources to you after the PD so that you can explore any and all of these tools in more detail. We've created these step-by-step courses that you can walk yourself through to learn how to use all of these tools. So we're just going to sort of give you an overview of what they are and sort of what we discussed in the previous PD. And if any of them seem interesting to you or all of them seem interesting to you, we've already created a bunch of resources for you to be able to walk yourself through the process and learn everything you need to know about them to get started with them when you choose to get started with them. So I know it's going to be a lot of information. It might be a little bit overwhelming to hear all at once, especially because we're even introducing a new tool today as well. But hang in there. We do have all the information you could possibly find. Having a question and answer session after I go through the presentation. So if there's anything that you want to ask us right away, we'll definitely be hanging out past 8:30 to answer any questions that you have. But yeah, we'll just get started. And as I said, you can ask us questions while you have us on the phone, but we also will be providing a lot of resources to you to explore on your own time. Because I know everyone's needs are going to be different and not all of these tools will work for everybody. So we'll just review the things that we've gone over previously and introduce a new skill, and then we'll have a quick question and answer session. So if you have any questions during the presentation, just feel free to shoot them in the chat, and other members of the team can shoot you a quick answer while I'm going through the slides. So if there's something quick you want to ask, Sarah and Esther will be there to give you a quick answer. Again, we will have the Q&A session, so you can also just hold your question till the end. So without further ado, we'll get started because it is a lot of information. So again, if you feel overwhelmed over a question, let us know, and we will definitely be there to help you out with it. So let me present here. So the sort of theme for tonight's PD is bringing all of these tools together so that we can set up our classrooms for the coming school year. I know the summer is coming up and we all want to organize our school, plan for next year, especially with coronavirus. We don't really know to what capacity we're going to be meeting with our students in person or digitally. So using all of these tools and getting used to them over the time that we have over the summer will hopefully make that transition into the next school year even easier for you. And will hopefully set you up for any situation that we may face in the coming year, because I know we'll all be in a different place as far as seeing our students, not seeing our students, whatever the case may be come September. So we've gone over a lot of these new tools during the course of the entire series, which has been going on for a few weeks at this stage. So I'll just breeze through them very quickly, and then we'll learn a new skill and do a review. So here's what our digital toolbox has looked like up until this point, and these are the tools that we've discussed over the course of the PD series. For lesson planning, we have introduced Pear Deck, Loom, and Edpuzzle, and Kahoot. For assessments, we've introduced Google Forms, Padlet, and Seesaw. For grading, we've shown you how to use Flubaroo and given you an introduction to the suite of grading tools within Google Classroom. For communication with your students, we've shown you how Google Classroom works great for that. And today we're going to be introducing Trello as a curriculum organization tool for you and your team members or your department or administration. So let's get started. Seesaw allows for digital portfolios, and your students are able to document and submit documents, pictures, videos, and drawings to a digital portfolio platform. What's great about Seesaw is it allows for the submission of offline, and creative work. So I know that, we've wanted our students to respond with photos, videos, multimedia projects, and we've, felt that that's been limited over, email submissions and things like that. And Seesaw really does solve that problem for us. It makes the collection and assessment easy for any assignment that you give your students through the platform. And it really allows you to build a long-term portfolio of your students' work. The last thing I'll mention on this slide is just that it also has a lot of commenting capabilities, so you're able to interact with the students' work and portfolio, but students are also able to interact with each other's work, which is a really cool feature. Finally, it makes parent communication a breeze, and it actually has a lot of really cool built-in parent communication features so that you have that extra line of communication with your students, not just the students, but their family as well. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. So here's the Seesaw Teacher dashboard. board, here's an example of an assignment that I've given my class. You can see that there's a worksheet, and the idea is to write in the fraction. So you can see how these students will have to follow a couple of pretty easy instructions, but they'll be able to respond to an assignment with different tools. So they can tap the drawing tool and just draw the answers on top of the assignment, and that work is automatically stored and saved on Seesaw. So the days of, the dog ate my homework excuses are really over, because everything is hosted on Seesaw on the platform itself. And you can see how far they got, what they were able to accomplish with the work. And it's really easily organized all in one place for you. So beyond just the draw tool, you can also integrate things like the microphone feature, a video, a photo submission, all those kinds of things. And it really allows your students to work with dynamic assessments and assignments, and you can see all of their creativity at work over the course of a semester or a school year, which is really cool, especially because at the end you get to share that with the student and their parents. So here's an example of a student portfolio, a very basic one that I put together. You can see I have one text submission, one drawn submission, and one photo submission. So you can see how you can scroll through someone's history on Seesaw and see all of the work that they've submitted very easily, all in one place. Next, I'll move on to Pear Deck. So Pear Deck is a Google Slides add-on that allows you to improve interactivity with your lessons. So you can integrate questions into your slides presentations very easily. Here's an example of a multiple choice question that we've integrated. So you'll prepare a slide that maybe has a question or a prompt on it, and using the Pear Deck add-on, you can integrate these interactive features, whether it's a multiple choice question or something else. I'll show you the other options in just a moment. The other thing to mention about Pear Deck is that you can either use it live with a teacher paced session. So you can run the class, you can go through the slides at your own pace and see live responses from your students. But it also has an asynchronous ability where you can have the student pace themselves through your presentation and still interact in the same way, and still, have the same questions be presented to them. And you can go back and look at their responses later. So this is what the Pear Deck add-on looks like on slides. You'll see that it'll show up on the right side of your slides sort of editor. And these are all the options that you have to interact with your students. You can ask them for a text response, a multiple choice response, as you just saw, numbers, website, a drawn response even, a draggable response, which is really cool. And so you can really get your students engaged with a presentation that you're giving in class or out of class. So however you choose to use the software, it's really easy to get up and running. And you can start your lesson when you're ready and set the mode to teacher paced if you're doing it live in the classroom or live over Zoom, or student paced if you're assigning it for homework or you're doing a flipped classroom or something. Next, I'll go over Loom and Edpuzzle. So Loom is actually a really easy to use recording software. So if you use Loom, you'll create a video lesson basically. And to increase interactivity with that video lesson, especially if you're having students complete it on their own time in a flipped classroom scenario or a remote learning scenario, adding interactivity with Edpuzzle holds your students accountable to actually paying attention to your lecture. So it's great for, as I said, asynchronous and flipped classrooms. And Edpuzzle integrates knowledge checks or notes from you into your raw video files from Loom to increase that student accountability, as I said. So here are the screen recording options with Loom. This is what this will look like on your desktop. You have a screen and cam option. Oh, my video is not going to play. But basically, you have a screen and cam option where you have a screen recording with a little photo of yourself in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Sorry, the video isn't loading. It showed you all of this, but things happen. And screen only is obviously just a screen recording. Cam only is just a recording of you that's recorded through your laptop's camera or your computer's camera. And this is what you'll do with your Loom to add that interactivity. You would upload it to Edpuzzle and integrate these knowledge checks. All of those red circles are, representing where those knowledge checks are. So a student will interact with your lesson and they won't be able to move past that point in the lecture until they interact with a question or a note that you've placed along the video. And the great thing about Edpuzzle is it has a lot of great features for teachers on the back end where you can see the responses that your students gave, see how long they spent on the video, see if they watched it multiple times. And it makes grading, especially if you're integrating things like multiple choice questions, super easy. So if you want to make this a graded assignment, Edpuzzle has all of the capabilities to make that as easy as possible for you. And again, especially if we're teaching remotely to a certain extent come September, this is a great tool to get familiar with. Next, I'll go over Google Forms. I'm sure we've all filled out a Google form at some point or another just in our personal lives, but it's great as an easy to use basic assessment tool that's hosted by Google and the Google Suite. Here's an example in case you haven't seen one before. You can see that I've included, I want everyone to submit their email address with the form. So that's a point of contact thing, but then you can also integrate all types of questions. Here's a multiple choice example and a short answer example, but it allows for several other question types as well. I find that it's very easy to administer and set up. So once you get your questions on the form, it's really easy to share the link with your students, put it on their Google Classroom, send it out, invites out by email, and get responses to your forms very, very easily. And there are built-in grading features as well. So the Google Forms grading features are basic, just like the assessment tool. But if you want to just get up and running with a quick assessment, Google Forms is a great option because you can do everything on forms. However, if you have a more complicated form or assessment built out on forms, you can easily export the student results to a spreadsheet on Google Sheets. If you do choose to do that, we recommend to grade with Flubaroo. It makes grading super easy once you have all of your raw data imported to a Sheets document. So once you have the Flubaroo Sheets add-on, it's like a very quick installation process. You can grade your assignments with really just a couple of clicks. You can see that I have the add-on here. Once I've installed Flubaroo, it will show up in a Sheets document, and I can click grade assignment, and Flubaroo will take care of the rest. I know we're thinking, how does it do open-ended questions? I find that Flubaroo is one of the best tools for sort of mixed question type assessments because it'll take care of all the easy ones for you without a thought, and then it understands that open-ended responses need your attention. So you can be presented with the open-ended responses of your students one at a time, which I know we've all been stuck in that position where you have mostly multiple choice, but then a couple of open-ended questions at the end of our exams, and we're like digging for the responses that they gave, and we're trying to find where they wrote it, and it's just a mess trying to find that information for each individual quiz or assessment. Flubaroo organizes it for you actually and presents them serially one at a time. So you'll see one student's response, you'll give it a quick grade, and then that grade will be updated to the student's grade that they got on the rest of the quiz without you even having to think about it. So it's really great for open-ended questions grading. Like I would definitely recommend looking into that if you have a lot of mixed type questions on your assessments. And the last thing I'll mention about Flubaroo is that it also sends out grade reports to your students very easily. So you don't even have to worry about like digging through individual grades. You can send grade reports to your students with just a couple clicks as well once you have the Flubaroo add-on installed. So here's a quick example of the Flubaroo output. I understand it's kind of a lot to look at first, but once you understand what's going on here, it's really, really simple to read. You can see that what I've circled is the relevant information. We have the point of contact that I asked for, the total points that they got on the quiz, and what percent that corresponds to. And then again, if I send out grade reports, the emailed grade, I can send back an email to this email address with their grade report that reflects their total points and percent without me even thinking about it. You can also get data on how responses came in for each individual question that you asked. If there's a weird outlier where everybody got it wrong, then you can see that very easily as well. And you get summary data for the average of your entire class as well. So it gives you a ton of information once you get used to sort of what the output looks like. And it makes, again, sending out those grade reports super simple. Next, I'll go over Padlet. It's a really simple tool, but it's actually quite powerful. I know Esther loves using it for sort of peer review on final projects and things like that. It's very easy to get up and running. It's just a website. And it really is just a virtual bulletin board. I know we all have those in our classrooms where we post student work or, about me projects that we've had our third graders do, things like that, so that everybody can see the work that was done and everybody can interact with their peers' projects. Padlet basically does this just online. It's great because it allows for a lot of different file upload types. So you can see here I've got an image upload, a link upload, and a text example, but there are other things that you can upload to a Padlet. You'll see that there's this commenting feature where people can comment on each other's work. And again, I'll say it is very easy to get up and running. It's very easy to get your students all on a Padlet to interact with each other's work. And you can have everybody sign up, but you can also do it without signing every individual student up for the service and still have the same effect. So it's great to get peer review going quickly and have your students interact with each other's projects and work. And Esther uses a one glow, one grow type of paradigm with it where her students can say positive things about each other's work, constructive criticisms. And it's great because it gets your students thinking about their peers' sort of ways of thinking and what they've been able to come up with for a similar project, or the same project, I should say. So I'm going to go over this very, very quickly because it's a lot of information, but the Google Apps for Education, we really recommend that you try to get set up with Google Apps, or just a Google account before, engaging with any of the other tools that we've mentioned, solely because once you have a Google account, Google can basically host all of your information. You can use one login for everything. And Google really is very easily integrated into all of the previous tools that we've discussed. Things like Padlet, Pear Deck, is a slides add-on. And
Padlet, so you can share it to Google Classroom directly.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like once you set up one Google account, you can have everything under the same name, the same email, and not have to worry about having a gajillion accounts to all of these different tools. It just helps you stay organized, and everything is integrated automatically. So we would definitely recommend trying to set all of this up with a Google account if you don't already have one. One of the most important features of the Google Apps for Education is Google Drive. Mostly because it allows you to host all of your documents online and take all of that storage off of your computer and put it into a virtual space. Again, if you have a Google account, then all of this can be hosted under one roof. You can see that I have the slide deck that we're going through right now, right as a quick access on my Google Drive. I've got a docs file, I've got a sheets file, and I've also got folders where I can organize my material within the drive itself. So just think of it as, that drive on your computer where you're saving all your files. If you have Finder or something, if you're using a Mac, all of that can happen on your Google Drive just to help you keep organized and save storage space on your actual device. Again, like I said, having one Google account kind of is the thing that fits all of the puzzle pieces together and makes all of these so much easier to use. So before you get started, try to use the Google account or look into using a Google account, because it will make your life a lot easier if you let Google host everything and you sort of organize everything with one email address and one account. That said, Google Classroom is one of the most heavily used features of the Google Apps for Education that I think most of us are at least, somewhat familiar with. We love Classroom for a lot of reasons, but first and foremost, it helps you organize your classroom, your students, and your assignments very easily. It provides that direct and easy communication with your students without really having to put too much thought in it. And as Esther mentioned, so many of these tools allow you to just import your Google Classroom straight into them. So if you ask Google Classroom, again, it saves you a bunch of work down the line as far as getting students signed up to services and things. So if nothing else, we definitely recommend you look into the Google Apps for Education, because it will make your life a lot easier if you sort of familiarize yourself with it. Again, for announcements, work, there's a lot of grading features built in just with your students directly. And it's easy for them to stay organized if they have one place they can go where everything is stored for them as well. So rather than having everybody responsible for files on their own device, you could say, you can't find the slides, I posted them on Google Classroom. You could see I had posted a slide deck to my students just to have it there in case they missed class or something. So it's a great resource, and it has a lot of powerful features, but first and foremost, we definitely recommend it as a great communication tool. So now we're getting onto the new skill called Trello. Here's a sample Trello board. I know it's a little bit overwhelming to look at just now, but it's really not that scary, and it's extremely powerful. So we'll sort of walk you through step by step now, since this is new. Use it for prevent and organization, but you can also collaborate very easily with it. It really improves workflow and advanced level allows you to organize all of your class and curriculum files very quickly. You create my lists by unit. So I have unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. And as I'm building out my curriculum, I can add, okay, lesson 1 within unit 1 and lesson 2 within unit 2. And then we're going to have a quiz. And you can very easily see, right when you open the board, exactly where everything is and what the timeline looks like and sort of where all your files are. So however you choose to organize a Trello board or boards is really up to your personal preference, but the capability is there to make this super clear and easy for you. And especially if we work with other people or we have co-teachers or something, having something very easy to read and easily used makes all the difference when we're collaborating, especially when we're building out a curriculum with other people. So the way that you can actually add files and sort of get used to like the power of Trello is to click on a card to get all of the details attached to it. So here I've clicked on lesson 1 inside of list unit 1. And you can see there's all of these options that are related to that lesson. So obviously this helps you keep organized, but it also allows collaborators to sort of pop in and see exactly what's going on with ease without you having to like walk them through it. They can just very easily, once they get used to the software, say, oh, I wonder what lesson 1 is going to be. Or if you have a TA or something who's like, oh, what are we doing this week? They can just get onto the board, look at lesson 1, and get all of the information they need for that, and they don't have to bug you about it. So let's take a closer look at this card.
Could I first address just a really good question from the chat from Joy?
Oh,
She's
yeah,
asking what the difference is between Padlet and Trello. That's a really good question. They look kind of similar because you're just kind of throwing things up on a board. So Padlet is really a display tool, a bulletin board tool, so that multiple people can see little images, websites, whatever it is, resources that are thrown on one page together, and you can drag them around. Trello is really a project management tool. So it's similar in that you're throwing little bits of information on a board, but Trello is cards that you can drag and drop within columns, and you can add tons of links to it, checklists to it, descriptions to it. So it's like just the best curriculum development, like organization tool possible. So you just manage columns and drag cards around it. So you usually have a column for every unit that you're covering. I have a column called like cool resources that I found. I have a column for like I teach computer science, so like really good cheat sheets that I found. And while Padlet is great for your classroom, for all your students to really easily like hop on this one page and share a project of theirs or a comment of theirs or an answer to a question or whatever it is that you want all of them to see, Trello is really more for you and maybe your co-teachers or other teachers in your school who you might want to share your curriculum with. But it's really for you to stay organized. It's like the best way to make sure that you don't lose stuff, that you don't get lost in like a sea of folders inside your computer. And it's just a really good curriculum dev like project management tool for yourself. While Padlet is really just like a kind of show off simple thing bulletin board for a group of people.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see the message in the chat. I don't know if it's because I'm like not a host or something, but yeah, no, that's a great description, Esther. And she's totally right. Like Trello is a very powerful tool for collaboration and organization, whereas Padlet is really just, a virtual bulletin board where you can stick stuff up, and it's about as powerful as if you had a bulletin board in your class, except that you can upload files and links and stuff like that. So there really is nothing beyond that with Padlet. It's great for that, just like quick collaboration with like the students in your class, but it can't do what Trello can do. And as far as long-term planning and organization, Trello will serve you a lot better than something like Padlet, even though they kind of look similar on face value. So the card details are where you're really going to be able to see what Trello is capable of. So this is each card that you're posting. You're able to add a description. Some of us who just want to have like a quick text note of like what the lesson plan is for lesson 1 might just use the description and that's it. But you can also use this checklist tool to, especially if you're like working with people or you like to have a to-do list for your own planning, you can sort of keep track of the tasks that need to happen before this lesson is ready. And obviously I only have one thing on my checklist here, but if you had multiple and you were ticking them off, it would give you a progress report in a percent, like you're 50% there, you're 70% there, to help you and your team keep on track. You can attach files, which is what we use, like our team uses a Trello board to stay organized as well. We use attachments all the time so that if people are collaborating on a lesson, I can upload a slide deck, Esther can upload an outline from Google Docs, Sarah can upload a note from her computer, and we can have all of those documents in one place and we can all stay organized as a team. You can add due dates and you can also comment. So say you come on, you see somebody attach something, rather than sending them a text and waiting to hear back, you can just comment on the Trello board and say, where did that attachment come from? What's going on with that? And then you have a direct line of communication with your team just on Trello itself. So all of those are the basic features. Obviously, there's more advanced ones that you can see on that side menu. But you can see just from these basic features how much you can really do with each card. As I said, inviting team members for easy collaboration is probably the best feature of Trello. So obviously, it's very powerful for just your own development. But you can also invite co-teachers, TAs, administrators, colleagues, your principal to come see what you're working on, especially if you're working collaboratively on building out a curriculum for like, the history department, 10th grade classes for, a bigger school or something like that. If you want everyone to be on the same page, Trello is completely capable of handling that. Inviting members to your board is very easy. I'm going to invite you to a sample board in just a moment and have you play around with it. But you can build a curriculum together and get feedback, as I said, with the commenting features basically right away. Collaborators can edit, add, add comments, things like that on cards. So you really can work together to build something out if you are going to use this tool to collaborate. But as Esther said, like, it's really great just to organize your own files. I know we've all dug through the downloads on our computer, finding some reading that we downloaded like last year, and we want to use it again, and we can't find it anywhere. And our Google Drive is not as organized as we want it to be, and we can't find those files. Having everything on a Trello board gives you easy access to each of those files, and you can very clearly organize, like, lesson 1, unit 1, lesson 2, unit 1, quiz materials for this topic. And even if you come back to it a year later, you still have all of those documents linked and all in one place, very easily organized. And you can attach all kinds of things. You can attach from your Google Drive, from your Dropbox, from your own device. Like, it's a really powerful tool for just keeping yourself organized, as well as having other people come in and see what you're doing and have them be organized as well. So we'll do a quick activity. I know we're running low on time. I am going to put a link in the chat so that you can test this out. Actually, Sarah or Esther, do you have the link ready to go? You just put it in the chat. So we're typing in a link, a tiny URL. Go ahead and take a minute and just explore the Trello board. I want you to at least add a comment or something so you can see how easy it is to have something post to the Trello board. And then just mess around for a couple of minutes. If you have time, try adding a card, to that card, add a checklist, see what the deadline looks like. Try uploading a link, even if it's just a link to Google or something, so you can see how the attachment feature works. And we'll reconvene in just 2 or 3 minutes and wrap up. So I'm sorry we didn't get more time to sort of play around, but we'll definitely leave the Trello board open for you to access for the next day or so you can go back and kind of mess around with it and see if it's a tool that you'd like to use. And then we'll get on to the wrap up and the Q&A. So I don't know where my chat went, so I don't know. Oh, there it is. It was hiding from me. Okay, yeah, so Sarah posted it in the chat. Take a minute, mess around with it, and I'll just get started on the review in about 2 minutes, and then we'll start the Q&A.
Yeah, I just want to say Nicole did an amazing job just going through everything. I know those of you who are new think we just threw a million things at you. It was just, this is our last PD of the school year, so we really wanted to just review every PD that we covered until now so that you know kind of what tools we've looked at and why we love them and why we ran PDs on them, and you'll get all of our courses on all of them. So if that seems very overwhelming, you will have video-based step-by-step instructions that Nicole put together that are very easily accessible. And we thought Trello was a good thing to end with, because whatever tools you decide to use in your class, maybe you don't like Google, maybe you're like a Microsoft or whatever it is, Trello just makes organizing all of the content from all the great content that you create using all the different tools available to you, whichever ones you decide to use, that really ties it all together and lets you organize yourself. Because if you start using Loom to do video screen recordings because you want to flip classroom, even if we're back in school, and you create these awesome Edpuzzles so that you know that your students watch them if they answer the questions, and then you have all these Google worksheets on Google Drive, and you also have all these YouTube videos that you think are great for your class, and all of these things are just kind of disparate on disparate tools and in all different places. Trello really just lets you kind of bring them all together, make sure you're organized, make sure you're not losing track of resources. I use the due date, sometimes I forget, but I use the due date for when that class is running, so I see when it's coming up and when it's passed, just to keep a visual of my entire year and all of my units that I'm covering and when. So it's just a great way to really keep everything, really bring everything together. So it was just a good thing to end on. And we really hope you find it useful. I think Trello was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Esther. Yeah, it's that she explained it perfectly, that even tools like Padlet and things, you can link to those as well. Even though they're online resources, you can still link them to a card. So any of the tools that we've gone over, there is a way to use that and also upload the work that you've done with that tool onto your Trello board as well. So no matter how you end up working it out or what files you end up using, or what tools you end up using, you can get them on Trello so that you stay organized. Also, I want to introduce Ariel Cohen. I know you wanted to say a few words. So Ariel, I don't know where you are because I can only see 5 people.
I'm right here. I got it. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming this evening. I know how hard it is for you as educators to really keep a sense of normalcy with your classes, even as the school year is drawing to a close and you've been doing this for the last couple of months. So I want to applaud all of you really for your commitment and dedication to your students, your schools, the parent body, and really just education as a whole. For those of you who don't know who we are, or it's your first time being here on a PD with our team, we're part of really a larger group that provides a wide range of educational services, from test prep and tutoring and computer science education on the student side to professional development, school programs, and educational consulting on the school side of things. Our goal really is to bring high quality education to students, teachers, and schools so that everyone has a chance to succeed and have a bright future. We put together a team of really amazing educators who are committed to making education better on a daily basis. I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to our team members who are here with us this evening. Tonight we have 3 of our team members here. Running the session tonight is Nicole Baz. I want to thank Nicole for doing such a great job really running the session this evening. Thank you. Sarah Kishk is also here tonight. Thank you, Sarah, for working on developing the content and running the previous professional development sessions. You've been doing really an amazing job. Finally, we have Esther Hirsch with us here. Esther is our lead developer of educational programs. She's a partner in all our endeavors in furthering education. So thank you, Esther, for being the mastermind behind the scenes working on all of these sessions. For those of you who want to go over the session from tonight or any of the other sessions that we ran, Esther mentioned that we'll be making videos, instructions, and much more available to you. So keep a close eye on your emails for communication from our team. On that note, I want you all to know really that our goal is to be here to help all of you. I'd like you to all know that we provide professional development to so many different schools, and we can be there in your school as well as help with other educational tools. If you'd like to see more of these sessions, we want to encourage you to reach out to your school principals, your administrators, let them know about the services we provide. If there's something specific that you'd like to see from us, let us know. We're here for you now. We're going to be here for you after this pandemic is over, and when you get back to teaching in the classroom normally. We're going to keep providing you and your peers with new and innovative ways to engage your students and keep your classrooms current and at the forefront of education. And finally, I just want to stress something that I like to tell everyone we work with, whether it's a student, a parent, a teacher, a principal. We really, really strongly believe in open communication. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, requests, don't hesitate to reach out to any member of our team. We're here for you. So again, communication is really, really vital to all of us. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nicole, who's going to go over that quick thing you were working on and then some Q&A.
All right, thank you, Ariel. Yeah, so I'm sure you guys have had at least a little bit of a chance to look at Trello, even if you haven't, added the comment or whatever. As I mentioned before, we'll leave that board open to you just to sort of mess around with for the next day or so. So don't feel like any pressure to get all your tinkering done tonight or within the next 2 minutes. We will leave that available to you just so you can mess around and see if it's a tool you think you might use in the future. One more thing, if you didn't notice, is to move cards around is a great feature that I didn't go over just yet. But you can adapt to changes in your plans easily, as Esther hinted at before, by moving your cards around very easily with no problem. So don't feel like you put all this work into your card or whatever and now it's stuck in the wrong place. You can also adapt very easily with Trello. So that's one last feature I wanted to leave you with. Again, this is just a recap of what I showed you at the beginning of the PD. So if you came late, I'm sorry we had to get started right away tonight. So normally we give everybody a couple minutes to come in, but because we had so much to go over, we just sort of blew through this beginning slide. So just again, for lesson planning, we recommend Pear Deck, Loom, and Edpuzzle, and Kahoot, which we didn't go over tonight, but is a great interactive live quiz website that you can increase interactivity, and it's really fun for kids in the classroom. For assessments, we went over Google Forms, Padlet, and Seesaw. They all serve different purposes, but you can use all of them at the same time. So we definitely recommend looking into those if you are looking for assessment solutions. For grading, we went over Flubaroo and hinted at the suite of grading tools for Google Classroom. Sorry, we didn't really get to dive into those in the right way. For communication, we do recommend Google Classroom. As I mentioned before, it's just a really great starting point for all of the tools that we've introduced over the course of this series. And finally, we went over Trello for curriculum organization to really bring it all home, put it all together, and organize it for yourself, because more than anything, we want you to benefit from these tools and not, find that they're stressful to manage, because we realize that this is so much new technology, so many new tools and things that you can implement. And using Trello to keep it all together, keep it all organized, is definitely something we recommend. It's super easy to use and get used to, and it'll just save you time in the long run, especially if you want to go back to past years and see what you did. It really allows you to have that, at your fingertips. So now we'll do questions. I feel like I saw something come through in the chat. Where is your team based? We're based in New York. So.
One more note, I know this is so much, these are like so many tools. I have to say, we work with a lot of teachers, and I know technology can be super overwhelming at first. We just really very strongly believe that the work you put in is so worth it. We know that what teachers are meant to be doing is teaching and spend so much time on tedious work. And if you find the right tools for you, then technology just saves you so much time, like in organization and grading and just managing communication with students, communication with parents, like just returning student work, like managing student work. You don't want to drown in a sea of papers. You shouldn't spend as much time as we all do, on grading and these tedious tasks. Like, we want you to be able to do what you love and why you became a teacher in the first place, and really get rid of these other really annoying tasks, and also use technology to engage your students more and make classes more exciting, and save your work, store your work for yourself so that you don't have to keep repeating tasks over future years. So really, you'll get these slides and you'll get all these resources, and I hope that you find these tools useful. And we're really here if you have any questions about anything. We know that the beginning could be overwhelming, but really once you grow accustomed to a tool, it just like becomes part of you, and it becomes part of your workflow, and it saves you so much time in the long run.
Exactly. And for those of you that this is your first PD with us, I realized that this was an insane amount of information to take in 30 minutes. So as we've mentioned, if you missed it at the beginning, we will be sending out all the links to the resources that we've worked on to allow you to work yourself through like how to actually use these tools. Obviously, if I say Flubaroo is super easy, it grades for you, you're like, but how? I don't get it. Like, we built out an entire course to walk you through the how of that and sort of how to actually implement. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them out in the chat or just say it. At this point, the content portion is over, but the Q&A is going strong. So let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah. So